So the next demonstration is again based on unvisual effects, so antiseptic effect. In order to get an antiseptic effect, we are using an agent that's called benzalkonium chloride, or in short, BKC. We encapsulated the benzalkonium chloride in a technology that we call hydrosol BKC. This technology allows to adhere the BKC onto the skin to extend the antiseptic protection. But consumers don't see that. The system works in a very interesting way. When you apply it, either rub it or wash or spray it on the surface, including the skin, the product, which starts with a nice sphere, we have the antiseptic agent, the polymer is on the surface, and it's all in water. The water evaporates, and the product forms a kind of a film on the skin. This is the in situ encapsulation. This is the case where the polymer actually encapsulates the particle with the BKC. Some of the BKCs on the surface, other are still encapsulated. So when it approaches water, and water is the key triggering material, there is no bacterial growth without water. Water is the carrier of the diseases. A place or skin that is very dry will not be contaminated, or the bacteria will not grow on skin that is very dry. But the moment you wet it, then you bring water, you bring life, and including life for bacteria, viruses, and so on. So what's happening with water? Water will crack a little bit the film, and the BKC will be released. This is when encapsulation is triggered by moisture. So it's triggered by moisture. Now the BKC become on the surface of the polymeric system, which is very, very thin. You cannot feel it, you cannot see it. That's why it's difficult to convey. But the bacteria comes in contact and immediately get gone. So this is how it works. It's activated by moisture. Now, not all of it's released at once unless you totally wash it off. So if you use it during the day, another wave of moisture comes up and more BKC is being released. This is how we accomplish a longer lasting protection. But again, in this system, you don't see how does it work. Consumer don't see. So it's difficult to convey the value for the consumers as a long-lasting protective technology. So how do we help with this? So here is an example of a magical hand wash. This is a finished product that using two technologies: the hydrosol BKC antiseptic and the white to green, the cell color affects white to green. Formula is very simple. You can use almost any base that you have. Here we use a xanthan gum base, and the only surfactant that we use is the cocamidopropyl betaine. Technologies that we use, you see the cell color effects, white to green, we use only a 2%. That's enough to get a sign of change. It will not make a major discoloration, but give you a sign. All that we want is to give a sign. The sign indicates what? Number one, that you activated the system. Number two is that you can see what areas you actually treated. The areas, for example, if you wash your hands and you don't go into between the fingers, then it will not be clean. It will not be antiseptic. So we use the antiseptic hydrosol BKC. You see it's a very low concentration, 0.5%. So 0.5% and 2% is sufficient to do. Now let me take you to the lab to show you
First step
how.
in creating our hydrocell BKC wash will be to pre-mix the xanthan gum with glycerin. This will help to wet the polymer and make it disperse very easily within the water. And the xanthan gum is going to be our water phase thickener in this formulation. Now that the xanthan gum has been well dispersed within the glycerin, it can be added to the water. This should thicken the water slightly, so the propeller speed may need to be increased to ensure its uniformity. Our next ingredient will be aloe vera gel liquid, which has been decolorized so it is clear. And what this will do for our final formulation is give it very strong moisturizing effects, and it will soothe the skin and rejuvenate the skin as well. Our next ingredient will be witch hazel extract, and what this does is acts as a skin conditioning agent to help reduce the flakiness on the skin and improves the appearance of dry and damaged skin. Our next ingredient is cocamidopropyl betaine, which is our primary surfactant within this formulation. And this classic foam boosting surfactant can reduce the irritation that classic ionic surfactants would normally cause. Now we will add the first of our two technologies, Hydrocell BKC, and this is our encapsulated benzalkonium chloride, which allows for the time release and longer lasting effects of benzalkonium chloride. It can be reactivated long after its initial application when it is exposed to moisture. Now that we only have to add our encapsulated pigment, Sal Color FX, this Hydrocell BKC wash could be sold as is, as a nice foaming hand wash. But what we are adding is our encapsulated pigments that release the inner color of the encapsulation when the action of washing your hands occurs. So as you can see, it makes our wash a little bit lighter or gives it a white tint, but when it is applied to the skin and you begin washing your hands, it will release the inner green pigment. This is our Hydrosal BKC wash with Sal Color FX white to green. As you can see, it has the normal consistency of a hand wash, and you can see the beads are suspended within it. This is what the application of the wash will look like. A normal amount is used. You begin to lather it between your hands, and the Sal Color FX beads can actually act as a bit of an abrasing agent here and will help to cleanse the skin. And as you can see, as it is rubbed in, the foam will change from a white to a green color. This formulation leaves the skin feeling soft and smooth.